Good morning. My name is Martin Rogers and I head up Co-op Franchise. Co-op is the UK's leading convenience retailer with over 2,500 company-owned stores, continuous like-for-like growth and picking up a raft of industry awards. We like to think that we know food retail. We want you, your customers, your colleagues, your students, your campuses to benefit and join in our success. In partnership with our franchisees, we not only deliver strong commercial returns, but we give back to the communities which we operate in and source from. And we demonstrate that there is a better way of doing business for you and your community. We are currently operating 9 student stores within a portfolio of 35 franchise stores. And those campus stores are all the way from Aberdeen right down to Oxford Brookes, Leeds, Kent, Kiel, Newcastle, Stirling and Manchester University. And as a Co-op franchisee, you will experience a range of benefits. We will lay out and design your store with you. You benefit from award-winning own brand products. Your store will be fully ranged and planogrammed. We will supply all of the technology, the EPOS systems, the tills. There's a full training program. All of our point of sale and in-store marketing is provided. We will launch your store and account manage and develop it with you, and you'll benefit from our unique membership proposition. The stores also run with a market-leading automated replenishment system, really taking the hassle out of running a store. And there's a complete management information reporting system. Co-op franchise is about working with partners of pedigree who share our values and principles so that we can bring the benefits of the co-op to more places more often. We're currently serving over 200,000 students through our franchise stores, and we hope to be serving many more. Our simple, easy to operate stores, our award-winning brand, the congruence of our values and principles means we think that we can work together to generate incremental value that both of us can share. We look forward to talking with you more today. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, again. And I think it is still just good morning. So welcome back to CUBO Winter Conference 2021. And just so you know, you're on the right Zoom call, so you have logged into the Sustainability on Campus session. So fingers crossed that's what you were expecting at this point in time. So before we enter into the detail of the session, a bit of housekeeping from me. So and firstly, an apology. So we can't organise and deliver these sessions without the support of our partners, for which we are eternally grateful. Unfortunately, on one of the earlier sessions, we played an incorrect piece of VT for one of our principal partners, Campus Life. So apologies for that, guys. So a bit of a mess up at our end. So we'll rectify that by playing a correct piece of VT at one of the sessions later on today. So I guess you get double bubble exposure today, which is a good thing, not a bad thing. So apologies again. So also like to say thank you to the rest of our partners. So that's Co-op Franchise, Quadient, Wes, Star Res and Unite. Again, your contribution is really valued and appreciated. So I want to advise all delegates that these sessions are being recorded and the sessions will be circulated post the event, particularly to enable those colleagues that weren't able to attend today to get the full level of detail and insight that's been provided to everybody else that can make it. We have a Twitter competition ongoing over the course of today. So for those prolific tweeters, please utilize the hashtag CUBO Winter 2021. That's hashtag CUBO Winter 2021. And at the last session of the day, we will announce who's won the, unfortunately, it's not a money can't buy prize, but it will be a prize nonetheless, which will be winging its way to you in advance of Christmas. So please utilize the Q&A, the live Q&A panel throughout this session and throughout the subsequent sessions over the afternoon. We really want to engage with the members. So if you've got any questions at all, please do ask. Utilize the chat feature, which is the discussion forum. And then outside of the sessions, as we break for lunch a little bit later, please ensure if you have a spare 5, 10, 15 minutes to enter into the meeting hub, connect with colleagues that maybe you haven't connected with for a little while, or connect with some of our partners. So at this point in time, I am going to say in advance of the sessions that are just about to run, so a big shout out to Peter Anstess, Head of Retail at University of Sheffield and TUCO Chair North East Region, to Fiona Goodwin, Director of Operations and Planning at EAUC, and James Tiernan, Head of Energy and Environment from Unite Students. So thanks in advance, guys, for contributing today. It's appreciated. And I'm going to hand over to my WES colleagues and ask them to run the VT. So.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me to speak at your conference. I'm Fiona Goodwin from the EAUC, the Alliance for Sustainability Leadership in Education. So for this presentation, I thought it'd be useful to quickly introduce EAUC, and then we will look at the role of colleges and universities in the climate crisis. We will then explore some of the tools to help institutions to take action. The EAUC's passion is to create a world with sustainability at its heart. We lead and empower post-16 education to make sustainability just good business. So, why do we need urgent action on climate change within all parts of our colleges and universities? We need action now. Last year, 5.1 million students were enrolled in colleges and universities in the UK. This represents 7% of the UK's total population and 12% of its economically active population. The knowledge and skills students develop today will have both positive and negative implications for society in future. Secondly, according to actuary tables, a young student leaving college this year can expect to live at least another 60 years. Within that time frame, it means today's and tomorrow's students and graduates will live through wide-ranging adverse climate and ecological changes. Combining these, there's a big question of education. How is the holistic education experience preparing students and staff for the challenges that they will encounter in their professional and private lives? In the latest global survey, 3/4 of young people said they thought the future was frightening. Over half say they think humanity is doomed. 2/3 reported feeling sad, afraid, and anxious. Many felt fear, anger, despair, grief, and shame, but as well as hope. So what is the role of a college or a university in a climate crisis? Universities and colleges can act as instigators for change at a local, regional, and national level. You can engage with your local community as well as local businesses and services and bring collective action. Also, by working with your peers in other universities and colleges, you can make a real impact at a national level. Within your university or college, you have academics and scientists. You need to listen to these and gain from their expertise to help you take action. You have a moral responsibility. Your staff and your students of today and tomorrow expect and demand colleges and universities to take action. Students are increasingly aware of climate crisis and they are looking for colleges and universities that share their values. It makes business sense to take action. Universities and colleges are unique and have an amazing ability to share their actions and knowledge with their peers, and together we can galvanise real global action. This is evident through the Green Gown Awards, which we will go through in more detail later. And the very core business of the college or university is to teach our students. We have to prepare students to not only survive, but thrive in a changing world. And I will talk through a few key tools and programmes that can help support your journey. The Department for Education launched a draft sustainability and climate change contract at COP26 for the Secretary of State for Education. This groundbreaking strategy covers all education, from early years to higher education. The department's vision is that the UK will be world leading by 2030. The strategy covers estates, operations, nature, education, and skills. They are undertaking a consultation and the approved strategy will be launched in April 2022. EAUC are taking part in the consultation and we will keep the sector informed. So, what is the sector doing and how can universities and colleges take action? We developed the Climate Commission with the Association of Colleges, Universities UK and Guild HE and ourselves in response to the government's Climate and Environment Emergency Declaration in 2019 to coordinate a clear response for the further and higher education sector. The Climate Commission sets targets for the sector and have developed a variety of tools to support your institutions. The Climate Commission has had key outputs such as the Climate Action Roadmap for colleges and the Climate Action Toolkit for universities. Working with our student climate commissioners, we developed a Future of Education report, which was submitted to UNESCO and formulated a Conference of Youth student statement, which was submitted ahead of COP26. We have also put out an offsetting statement. The Climate Commission believes offsetting should be seen as the last resort for residual emissions, where all other possible action has taken place, using the principles of the carbon management hierarchy of avoid, reduce, replace, and offset. Following the COP26 Universities Network briefing for the sector on offsetting, we have developed the Carbon Coalition, which is an offsetting service for universities and colleges to ensure high quality offsets are purchased, which meet our robust criteria, which is set by our advisory board, which is made up of academics and scientists from the sector. Increasingly, research grant providers are setting sustainability requirements as part of their funding conditions. For example, the Wellcome Trust now requires all grant holders to record any associated business travel attributed to a funded project and for this to be offset in line with a departmental or institutional offsetting policy. We know UKRI are also exploring this. So if your university or college undertakes research, it is worth developing and publishing an offsetting policy alongside or within your sustainability strategy, as this will likely increase your competitiveness for applying for funding now and increasingly so in the future. We have lots of information on our website for more details. The Climate Action Toolkit is a critical tool developed by the Climate Commission and is freely available. The tool takes you through 5 critical elements: leadership and governance, community engagement, teaching, research and knowledge, and campus management. The toolkit takes you through suggested steps you could take and provides resources, good practices, and links to help you further. Another great tool to help you is the Sustainability Leadership Scorecard. This has been developed by EAUC and ORD and is a self-assessment tool which is free to use for EAUC and ORD members. The scorecard takes you step by step through 14 frameworks covering all aspects of sustainability for an institution, looking at procurement, catering, biodiversity to governance. The scorecard gives you a whole institution view of where you are on your journey. Using this example, you can see leadership and governance and partnerships and engagement areas are strong, but you can see the areas that you are not doing so well. So this enables you with the information you need to develop an action plan, and you can see your progress against this action plan. So what about the Sustainable Development Goals? These provide you with the framework to embed sustainability across all disciplines. We all need to learn about the climate crisis and understand the interconnectedness of the world. We do not need so-called green jobs, we need all jobs to be green. From our lawyers to our engineers, to our doctors, and to our politicians. Everyone needs to have the knowledge and skills to achieve the SDGs. No one should be left behind. The SDG Accord is a global initiative to help universities and colleges to embed the SDGs across their operations and their curriculum. We have 227 universities and colleges from all across the world, all regions of the world. We provide an email network so you can work with your peers and sharing information and asking questions. We have a wealth of case studies and resources to help you. A core element of the SDG Accord is for institutions to annually report against their progress. In our latest annual report, which was presented in July in the United Nations High-Level Political Forum, shows that 96% said aligning with the SDGs is an extremely positive action, with SDG 4, quality education, SDG 3, good health and well-being, and SDG 13, climate action, having the highest impacts. However, we remain to see that the biggest challenges for colleges and universities is staff capacity and budgets. We encourage all colleges and universities to embed the SDGs across their operations, as well as their learning, teaching and research. If your institution is not already signed up, then sign up today to show your leadership. So we've seen how colleges and universities can embed the SDGs and take action. Now let's focus on how colleges and universities can achieve net zero. The Race to Zero for Universities and Colleges is a global campaign supported by EAUC, the United Nations Environment Programme and Second Nature. And we are an official Race to Zero partner, which is run by UNFCCC. The Race to Zero is a global campaign to rally leadership and support from non-state actors such as businesses, cities, regions, investors, and colleges and universities to achieve net zero. All members of the race are committed to the same overarching goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2050 at the latest. So how does this work? There are 4 Ps that you have to follow: pledge, plan, proceed, and publish. So firstly, you need to pledge at the head of organisation level to reach net zero as soon as possible and by 2050 at the very latest. You also have to set an interim target to strive to a 50% reduction by 2030. You do not have to have your targets agreed and in place at the point of signing the race. You have 1 year after you sign to set your targets. So now that you have your targets in place, you need to have a plan to show the actions you will be taking toward achieving your interim and longer term pledges, especially in the short to medium term. Again, you have 1 year to create your plan. So you have your pledge and your plan, so now you need to proceed to take immediate action to deliver against your interim targets. To ensure accountability, all signatories have to commit to reporting publicly against your targets on an annual basis. Again, you have a year to develop your annual report. The Race to Zero criteria is set by an expert peer review group, which comprises scientific and technical experts from around the world. The 4 criteria is available on our website. We support signatories in their journey through videos, case studies, resources, and toolkits. There's plenty of information to help you, so don't feel you are alone, as we're here to help you on every step. So we urge you to join the now 1,080 leading universities and colleges across the world in the Race to Zero. Signatories are were heavily promoted throughout COP26, and it was agreed that this will continue in all future COPs. So this is your chance to show your leadership on the global scale. You can find full details at our website. So we have started your journey to embed the SDGs, and you are taking action towards net zero. So now is the time to share and celebrate your actions. The Green Gown Awards are delivered by the EAUC and are kindly supported by CUBO, who champion the enterprise category, which recognises social media and sustainable enterprises as key ingredients of contemporary education to ensure a supply of education levers who can rise to the 21st century's economic, environmental and social challenges. This year's winner, which was announced at the award ceremony on the 18th November, is Durham University, and their work with Earth Minutes to develop a digital platform for field trips that were unable to take place due to the pandemic, making learning accessible to all students and to provide students with the sufficient tools to learn about the environment in a fundamentally sustainable way. We have so many different examples of initiatives from the UK, Ireland, and all across the world. The ethos of the awards is to share good practice and help you replicate these inspirational initiatives within your own university or college. Students, colleges, and universities are full of inspirational and world-changing ideas, and we aim to get the word out and help to globally scale their brilliance. Applications open in April for the 2022 awards, so get inspired and apply. Whilst COP26 may have been seen as more blah, blah, blah by some, there is some hope, and universities and colleges have a crucial role within society to make a real difference, and you owe it to your students of today and of tomorrow. In the words of the Italian education minister at COP26, everything starts with education. Thank you for your time, and hopefully I've shown you that there are a variety of tools and resources to help you on your journey. If you have any follow-up questions, please email me or visit our website for more information. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Peter Anstess. I'm Head of Retail at the University of Sheffield. And I've been asked just to do a brief chat about some of the things that we're trying to do at Sheffield, try and make a difference on the sustainability front in amongst trying to run a commercial business. And for many years, we've been looking at trying to do the right thing and believing what is the right thing and trying to make a difference, but not entirely sure whether we're getting it right. And it could have been everything from compostable bags, bamboo cups, husk cups, PET bottles, aluminium cans. What is it? What's the right thing? What should we be buying? What shouldn't we be buying? Suppliers sell you what they want to sell you, and they will tell you whatever you want to hear. And you're never quite sure if it's the right thing or the wrong thing. And to my great joy, in about 2017, the University of Sheffield set up a sustainability delivery group. And that was with the sole intention of trying to do the right thing across the university, but tie in all the different groups across the university and give them an understanding and connect with academics, researchers, professors, so that we could test our thoughts and what it is we were doing to try and make sure that what we were doing was the right thing. We've got great support from Professor Cameron in plant sciences, Dr. Rothman in chemical engineering, and they really drive this forward. So we are very much an integral part of the university, whereas previously commercial was just seen as this part that just sat on the other side and just did some catering. And we've really got involved with the group. We can make informed decisions now. So the university broke the whole system up into buildings, travel, energy, and most importantly, food and packaging, and tried to give us a clear structure as to a way forward so that we could bounce ideas off them and make sure that what we thought was right kind of was as right as we could get it to be. What have we done? Well, currently we've got a scheme called Vital, which we're linking with a German supplier for reusable cups and bowls, where customers can link onto the app, take away food in containers and cups, and they can keep that bowl for up to 10 days, no charge, return it to one of our collection points, and just keep reusing cups in, cups back, and at no cost to them. And that's starting to get some traction, and it's very much that the university have asked us to put this system in place and that we're part of their actions. It's not us that's the key driver, which has always been the thing in the past. And the offset to that is if you want to try and use single use, it's going to cost you 20 pence for every single use product that you buy. So when you're getting a cup of coffee, you get 20 pence on top if you haven't got a reusable container or you don't use the Vital scheme. What other things are we doing? So that's on the reuse. On energy consumption, everybody just tends to just plug into the system and use the electricity, use the power without really thinking about what we're consuming. So we're now taking a closer look on refrigeration, ovens. What is it that we use? What can we make a difference on? We're working with a Dandy at the moment. Their display equipment is claimed to use 30% less energy. We're looking at all the refrigeration equipment we've got. If we can do that, that can make a huge difference across the university. The thing that we've got to understand is we don't just work in silos, we work as a university, but also as a world, as a whole country. The whole thing links together. So we've got to stop thinking as individuals. We've got to think about the whole impact of what we do. what do we buy? What food do we buy? We use the CUBO greenhouse gas calculator to try to measure what food it is we impact by buying. What's the biggest single impact food we're buying in? It's beef by some measure. For every 1 kilogram of beef that you buy, that's 25 kilograms of carbon impact. So across all of retail, we've removed beef from our menus. We just don't sell it anymore. We decided that was the thing that we could make a difference on food, and that's what we've done. It isn't always about the food, it isn't always about electricity. There's so many other component parts to trying to do the right thing. And working with your suppliers is absolutely vital. Getting them to understand what your challenge is so that they can come up with solutions, I've found is to be the biggest part of what you can do. We've worked very closely for a number of years with our local Sheffield dairy, and they've really got to grips with what our challenge is, but also that supports their business by getting things right for them as well. So we've worked with them so that they can produce their own milk on site. Now we're looking forward to how they get their milk from the dairy to us. Every time they send 2 litres of milk, it comes in a 2-litre single-use plastic container. I was just thinking, we can't keep doing this. We are buying so many of these. So across a year, in a normal year, maybe 2019, we'd use about 85,000 plastic containers. So what could we do to try and remove that? So got in touch with a company called Autonomous, based in Stroud. They do a milk pump. We got some milk churns from Alex Baird in Glasgow, stainless steel containers. So now the milk comes from the farm in the stainless steel churns, goes into an under-counter fridge under the coffee machine, pipe drops in, there's a very neat milk pump, sits on the top of the counter, you press a button and the milk is lifted out of the churn into the barista's jug, ready for use. And that's coming in at about 12 litres for every churn. I put it into 3 sites about 6-7 weeks ago, and it's going to save us just on those 3 sites about 27,000 plastic bottles in year 1. So big impact, but what I'd love to see is that people are able to do this across other sites, across other operations, not just university, but can other people link with their supplier to reuse these containers, and getting that engagement to be able to send the churns back to the dairy is absolutely vital. So I think what is absolutely key for what we've been able to do at the university is we've become part of the university rather than something that just sits and works within it. And we've become essentially what the university referred to as a living lab. And I never envisaged that I'd become part of essentially a laboratory experiment. But actually, it's a great thing to do. We're part of the commercial operation, but the commercial operation can really support the university and the research grants and the funding that the university can get. So, and you get to engage with some really knowledgeable people who understand the future and where we need to go. And I just feel very honoured to be part of that. And that's my story from Sheffield. Thank you.
Hello, I'm James Tiernan, Head of Energy and Environment at Unite Students. Thanks for joining me today. Just in case you're not aware of who Unite Students are, we're the UK's largest provider of purpose-built student accommodation. We operate in cities all across the UK and quite possibly where you're based as well. So our purpose as a business is about creating a home for success. And this is about providing a safe, welcoming home that enables students to engage, learn and thrive during their time at university. And for us, a really core element of that is about how we ensure that we create responsible and resilient buildings that provide a sustainable home for those students to live in, but also then help them adopt sort of lasting sustainable living habits. So to help us achieve this, early this year, we published our new sustainability strategy that sets out 5 overarching sustainability objectives. And these focus in on the most materially important issues to us from a sustainability perspective, as identified through engagement with students, universities, supply chain partners, and so on. I'm not going to talk about all of these today, really going to focus in on probably the most topical given COP26 recently, which is our target to be a net zero carbon business by 2030. We're going to be publishing more details of this later this year in our net zero carbon pathway. But in essence, the way we've approached this is that we've used TCFD, which some of you may be aware of, to help us identify, quantify, and then report the climate-related risks that we're exposed to. We've then set science-based carbon targets using the SBTi's approach, aligned with a 1.5 degree limit to warming. This has then been underpinned by energy reduction targets aligned with something called CREM, the Carbon Risk in Real Estate model, and also a renewable energy target aligned with the RE100 commitment. So together, this gives us a really comprehensive approach to getting to net zero carbon. And the chart at the bottom of the page then shows how all of that comes together to deliver the reductions in operational and development emissions that we need to achieve. Focusing in on the existing buildings and how we can improve those to deliver net zero. We're looking at these really on an individual building by building basis to assess what are the most suitable measures to get each building to where it needs to be from an energy and carbon perspective. And we're assessing those against what we call the 4 Cs: energy consumption, carbon emissions, cost, both in terms of capital cost and operating costs, and compliance, specifically EPC. And by looking at this in the round, we can make sure the measures we deliver are the most effective, efficient measures. Focusing in specifically on building services and specifically again on hot water, given the time we've got today. Hot water is something that students use quite a lot of. It's pretty energy intensive and that energy literally goes down the drain. It's also a really significant factor in EPC certificate as well. And this is where most of it comes from in a lot of our buildings, probably about 70% of our estate, electric immersion heaters. Now they provide some real challenges for us in terms of reducing energy and reducing carbon. They have to run 24/7 to maintain supply and ensure Legionella compliance. And whilst they're intrinsically efficient in terms of turning electricity into heat, it's a pretty high carbon way, and it's quite heavily penalised in energy performance certificates. So it's really challenging to get to a B if you've got electric hot water cylinders in your building. So we've been looking at options to how we do that. How do we tackle electric hot water to get the improvements in energy, carbon, and EPC performance? So we can retrofit a central plant, but this is really costly and expensive, running pipe work through the building, creating plant space. We can look at replacing them with instantaneous hot water heaters. That's probably great if you're a smaller consumer, maybe at a single sink or in a kitchen, but large scale across a whole building presents challenges around the electricity capacity to meet that. So then another option we've been looking at, that I'm going to talk a little more about today, is replacing these with packaged air source heat pumps on a point-for-point basis. This is a relatively new application for heat pump technology, and it brings together the storage and the heat pump into one unit that can replace a hot water cylinder using either internal air, extract air, or even outside air to then produce that hot water. The benefits are that it's point for point. We literally can take out a hot water cylinder and then replace it with this packaged unit. It's about the same size, needs the same electrical connections, and it plumbs more or less just directly into the cold water supply and the hot water feed that cylinder used to serve anyway. So it's great in theory, it looks really attractive, and so we've been then trialing that to determine whether or not it can help us deliver those reductions in energy, carbon, cost, and improvements in EPC rating. We've been trialing that initially on a sort of bench scale, simulating hot water consumption, and so far the results from that look pretty good. It's delivering potentially up to a 20% cut in carbon emissions per bed when you scale up the findings from the trials we've done so far, and achieving what's called a coefficient of performance of about 240%. So if you're not familiar with heat pumps, the way that you assess their efficiency, as it were, if you imagine a normal electric hot water cylinder, or a kettle for that matter, they're 100% efficient. Every unit of electricity they use gets turned into heat. Now, a heat pump can typically be 200 to even 400% efficient, because for every unit of electricity they use, they produce between 2 and 4 units of usable hot water. A really good level of performance is maybe 400 for a ground source heat pump or air source heat pump. The trial so far using these units coming in at about 240%, which is pretty good considering that it's a small package unit without the benefits of scale you get from a larger solution. So while that performance is maybe slightly down on what you might expect from a bigger unit, the real benefit is the significantly reduced cost and reduction of installing one of these units compared to a central package plant. So I appreciate that's a pretty whistle-stop tour of one specific bit of technology that we're using to help deliver the carbon reduction and EPC improvements that we need to achieve. But hopefully it's something that may be relevant to some of you if you've got small-scale hot water production in individual kitchens or whatever it might be, or even at scale across accommodation. Currently, there's only a few of these out there, but we expect this is a sort of technology that's going to become more and more commonplace over the next few years as we get towards 2030, particularly in light of some of the government announcements around grants and funding for these sort of solutions. We are hoping to roll this forward and deploy this across 3 or 4 sites next year. So we'll be able to come back and hopefully keep you posted on how those are performing next year. So thanks for your attention today. Hopefully that's been useful, and look forward to taking any questions.
Excellent, guys, and we're all back in the room, back on the screen. So thank you, Peter, Fiona, and James for those insightful sessions. So I think there's lots to talk about actually. So so I think I'm going to go into Q&A. So there's a call for Qs, please. If anyone has a Q, please add it to the live Q&A at this point in time. However, I do have a few to start us off. So Fiona, I'm going to come to you first, if you don't mind. So there's a lot to do. Where do we start? So, and I guess we're all at different journeys as well. But if you offer some advice to an institution that is at the very early stages of their sort of journey in terms of sustainability, and like some recommendations in terms of where do we start? What do we need to do first?
Absolutely. So I think this is where some of the tools that I talked about can really help you. So the Sustainability Leadership Scorecard is like self-assessment tool. So you can just go through that and sort of look at all the areas where you think you can talk to your different teams. You can get different people to lead on certain areas. And then that gives you a real whole picture of your institution, where you are, a real snapshot. And then that gives you a starting point to then go, right, we're doing quite well in these places, so we don't need to focus on those so much. But then these are the other areas where we're really not doing. And then you can start formulating an action plan, because there is a lot to do and you have to start somewhere. So it's like, how can you do that? And also the FE roadmap is also a good way so you can see where you are on your journey. And sometimes it's you might not think you're doing as much as you are, but when you actually start looking at different areas, talking to different teams, you'll find out that actually you're probably doing quite a lot. So don't beat yourself up and sort of reward yourself for the bits that you are doing, but then really focus on those key areas. And if you actually calculate your emissions, you can then work out where are your highest emissions coming from, and therefore where can you make the biggest impact. So then you can really look at those different areas, and then you can really focus on those areas. So you can go, right, okay, this building over here, that is sucking energy out, so let's go and focus on retrofitting that building over there. So yeah, so don't beat yourself up, but do a self-assess, work out where you are, and then you can really formulate an action plan, which is really empowering, and then you can empower other teams to work with you on your journey.
That's great. Thank you very much. James, I'm going to come to you. So again, lots of interesting elements to your presentation. So having moved my eldest son into Horizon Heights in Liverpool back in September, so one of the things I'm struck by in his flat is that the heating's on all the time and they've all got the windows open. It's chaos. It's crazy. So I guess my question really is: are Unite doing anything particularly innovative in terms of educating residents? Because you can do as much as you want in the background, and we can all do as much as we want, but if people don't change their behaviours and habits, it largely doesn't have the impact that we would want it to have, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is a real challenge, and I'd possibly go as far as say it's one of the biggest challenges we've got. Changing bits of hardware is expensive, costs lots of money, but once you've figured out which bits of hardware need to be changed and you've engaged with the right people and built it into plans, as long as you've got the supply chain in place, you can deliver it. Trying to change people's behaviour is just inherently hard. I think if you sit a load of students down and if you ask them, as we did last year with our sustainability questionnaire, you'll get a resounding, yes, this is really important. We really care about it. It's influencing the way we live our lives. But I think, as I've said before, students are only human like all of us, and we all know what we should do and we don't always do it. So it is key that we really do whatever we can and everything we can to help educate, encourage, promote, and also provide the conditions to allow them, and hopefully almost allow them only to live the right way, if that makes sense. Sort of sustainability by default would be the utopia.
Yeah.
The heating one's a real challenge, and it's something we've been looking at for a long time and not yet absolutely cracked. We're doing lots of things. We've been set back a bit in the last couple of years by COVID. Obviously, attention was primarily on keeping students safe and keeping our buildings operating. So we're relaunching our positive impact program, which we run, which uses the Green Impact program, some of you might be familiar with it, developed by the NUS, and expands it out, builds it out into a broader sort of sustainability engagement program. We've tried various things in the past around the things you'd normally think of, competitions and league tables, and there are pros and cons to those. There's some challenges about data, about how you manage those and the effect that they can deliver. But I've not got a silver bullet for you, I'm afraid, but it is a challenge. I think a comprehensive approach, a sort of positive engagement approach, I think we found to be the most effective rather than a sort of punitive carrot and stick type approach. But we're going to be trying a lot more things over the next few years.
Yeah, good stuff. We look forward to seeing that. So I guess given your access to the volume of students that you have, I'm sure there's a whole host of things, activities and the like that we can bring into our organisation. So thanks for that. So Peter, again, it's a sort of similar question, but it's a customer related question. So interesting to note that you sort of pulled beef, as it were, from your menus. So and then the question that strikes me then is how do you engage with them? What's the process for engaging with your customer base around the changes that you make? Because actually there must be some element of consultation throughout that process, I guess.
Yeah, I think picking up on Fiona's comment, you can't beat yourself up for what you're doing, as long as you're doing. So you're looking at what you're doing, and then you look at what the impacts are. And that's exactly what we did. We looked at impacts, and beef is a massive impact. And just looking at the carbon calculator, for every kilogram of beef produced, it's 25 kilograms of carbon to get to that point. So we realized that we could make a big shift by making the menu change. But what you've got to do is you're still running a commercial operation. So you've got to make sure that there's something else in place to make sure that the customer remains engaged, wants to come to you rather than go to a neighbouring commercial operation. So we did a lot of work on that. But what we've also had is great support from the university wider group to make sure that we get the marketing message out there. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? This is the difference it can make. We're making changes that we can do. But again, the panel have made the point, you can change things yourself, so you can drop beef off the menu, but changing individual habit. We tried initially to say to people, consider this instead, don't buy this, buy this. Ultimately, people are creatures of habit, they carry on doing what they're doing. And sometimes you've just got to force that steer, and that's what we did. We said, right, we'll pull beef, but we're going to have some great options within there, so that you can go to the and we've done work with Quorn, who, when their product's called No Beef, but they drop the name in there because people make the association and think, oh, so it's meant to be something like beef, and that works really well. And we've reworked menus. We've made sure that we have a great sandwich offer in there because we drop the beef out of there as well. So it is that constant looking at what you do, why you're doing it, and keeping the customer in mind. But on the flip side, what's the carbon impact of your decisions as a buyer of considerable amount within a university operation?
Yeah, okay, that's great. Excellent. I was struck also by your comments in terms of living lab, actually, Peter. That's really interesting, because it's something that in my time at Man Met we tried to implement a number of practices into the commercial operation there. I'm trying as best we can to leverage the academic talent that's on site, who are doing all sort of. Any advice for organisations that are out there that haven't quite tapped into that at this point in time? What's the best way to approach those sorts of conversations, do you think?
I started off at low level, just getting to know people within, because it's surprising that the more conversations that you can have with people and just have a coffee with somebody, sit down and book a lunch meeting with somebody who you feel has a vested interest, and that can be, and what we'd ended up doing was we were all working in silos, thinking we were all trying to do the right thing, rather than thinking we need to talk to people who get this, who can have some real influence across the wider university. So get out your office, engage with people, go and sit down and say, look, this is what I'm trying to do. Am I doing the right thing? So that you're inviting them along to judge you, but then you get to know the individuals as well. So rather than just working within the commercial operation, you then start to talk to academics who have some huge clout across the university. What they're delighted is that, I talk about the living lab side of it, is that they want to put their ideas, practices into reality, and they can do that through you. So they can drop their ideas into your operations and try things out to make a difference. You start to build that relationship, and then it knocks on. It just goes so much bigger, and it's taken a number of years to get to this point where we are very much, we're at the centre. The commercial operation is at the centre of the university's buying strategy, because they want to try things out and they want to make sure it works. But then on the back of that, they get investment, so they can talk about research excellence framework. So the research that they're doing is being put into a real life practice. So like the milk churns, they supported us financially to get that off the ground, to get that into place. They will then go back to their partners to say, this is what we thought about, this is what we've done, this is the actions. They get further grant funding because they want to roll that out further. So yeah, it's all about those people. If I just summarize it, it's get to know the people who are out there working in the labs, and it's not always easy, but just do a bit of groundwork.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, and proof, if proof were needed, that the organisation that I'm currently working for has environmental sustainability high up the agenda, because I'm in an office with a PIR and the lights have just gone out. So it's not because we haven't paid the bill. So listen, I'm conscious of time. We've gone slightly over our allotted time. So so I'd like to thank Peter, James, and Fiona for your contribution, both in terms of your time taken to record your VT and then for your contribution in terms of the panel. So thank you very much. I would have liked much longer, but we are, we're a victim of the lunch break, unfortunately. So so thank you again. It's very much appreciated. So if any further questions come in, what we will do is we make sure that we get them across to the panel members, and then we go back to the members over the course of the next week or so with answers. So I think my takeaways really are probably quite simple, actually. So I think don't beat yourself up. I think we're all trying our very best, but I think what is absolutely key in terms of from a sustainability perspective is that this is about individual responsibility and individual impact, and it's the weight of individuals taking responsibility for their actions that ultimately will make the difference. So thank you again, very much appreciated. So to everyone that's on the call, we're taking an hour lunch break now, so please do come back after lunch, or if you finish your lunch early and you want to get back into the system, please feel free to do that. Use the chat forum, use the discussion, and use the meeting hub and connect with each other individually, connect with our partners. So thanks for your attention this morning, and I will see you hopefully with some lights on at about 1:30. So thanks very much, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.